Hello, science fans, and welcome to SHE-ensya. Our topic for today is the difference between science and pseudoscience. Our video for today is in celebration of Earth Day 2020 and to support our ongoing pursuit to clarify environmental knowledge and sway people away from fake news and alternative facts. With the World Wide Web, there is a tremendous amount of information in our hands, and it can be confusing which information to believe and which ones to dismiss. But I come with a warning in such that not all that sounds scientific is necessarily good science. And also, for environmentalists, there can be this conscious or unconscious negative attitude towards technology in general. But not all technology is created equal, and to avoid hypocrisy, we must deal with them with soberness and an open mind. The world is a work in progress, with sustainability, I hope, as one of the end goals. We've talked about the scientific method before, particularly in how it helps in effective decision making. But what is science? It refers to the body of reliable knowledge itself of the type that can be logically and rationally explained. From the keywords given, reliable is a very interesting term. It means someone or something worthy of trust. But who do we trust? The answer should be dependent on what the issue is. The answer may vary if we're talking about, let's say, the meaning of philanthropy, or how a science graduate transitions into a sex symbol. It would also depend on if we're talking about policies to ensure equity versus expedient ways to become rich in a cutthroat capitalist economy. Though, of course, it could vary dependent on our preconceived notions and biases. But that's the beauty of science. It involves a type of thinking that is logical and rational, which goes beyond our biases. It employs the use of facts and clear, valid reasoning that is measurable because it is tangible. But we do have a lot of pretenders out there who pose as if the fields they are talking about are scientific, but they're not. And this kind of thinking falls into the very dangerous field of pseudoscience. So let's define what pseudoscience is. It is a field which is presented as scientific but does not adhere to a valid scientific method. It lacks supporting evidence or plausibility and therefore is irrational, and it cannot be reliably tested, meaning the observations are intangible. The anti-vaccination movement is one of the leading examples of dangerous pseudoscience. Vaccination opposition isn't a new concept. As long as there have been vaccines, there have been people who objected to them. Refusing vaccines started back in the early 1800s when the smallpox vaccine started being used in large numbers. The idea of injecting someone with a part of a cowpox blister to protect them from smallpox faced a lot of criticism and disgust. The criticism was based on sanitary, religious, and political objections. The belief that vaccines can cause autism, however, has become widespread in the past few years. Parents seem to be most concerned about the MMR vaccine, which is used to prevent measles, mumps, and rubella. Multiple studies have shown that the MMR vaccine does not cause autism. A lot of criticism on vaccines fall into the chemical called thimerosal. Thimerosal is a mercury-containing organic compound, and since the 1930s, it has been widely used as an antimicrobial preservative in a number of biological products, including vaccines, to help prevent potentially life-threatening contamination with harmful microbes. Its concentration is too low to cause any harm to humans. However, you may be also glad to know that most vaccines do not contain it anymore. Since 2008, we have seen a massive return of preventable diseases because of the rising fear of vaccination. And all these problems because of a fear or mistrust towards science and a leaning towards alternative facts. Efforts to mitigate climate change has also suffered from pseudoscience. But climate change alarms aren't even new. The turning point for climate change knowledge was pegged during 1988.
NASA scientist James Hansen delivered testimony and presented models to Congress in June of 1988, saying he was 99% sure that global warming was upon us. And ever since then, people have been denying that climate change is real. The primary culprit for the warming of the environment is called the greenhouse effect, and we've known about it since the 1820s. The Earth's atmosphere acts the way a glass greenhouse would by trapping the energy and keeping the Earth warm. The more greenhouse gases there are, the more energy is kept within the Earth's atmosphere. But if you look at the history of fluctuating temperatures in the planet, it is a fact that the Earth has experienced global warming before, and global cooling. In the early 1970s, people were even worried about global cooling. In fact, Earth did cool somewhat between 1940 to 1970 due to a post-war boom in aerosol pollutants, which reflected sunlight away from the planet. The panic was so real that it was featured several times in the Time magazine. Internal variability in the climate system, when various components like the atmosphere and the ocean vary on their own to cause fluctuations in climatic conditions. On the other hand, climate change can also be caused by natural external causes such as increases or decreases in volcanic activity or solar radiation. For example, every 11 years or so, the sun's magnetic field completely flips, and this can cause fluctuations in global temperature up to about 0.2 degrees. The most recent special report on global warming of 1.5 degrees confirms that the observed changes in global and regional climate over the last 50 or so years are almost entirely due to human influence on the climate system and not due to natural causes.
Global warming has been happening for quite a while now, and its current intensity is mostly our fault. At this point, a lot of you may be asking, what can we do? But this might be where you might get frustrated with science. Science doesn't have all the answers,
as it involves the process of testing all possible explanations to a phenomenon until you are left with those that are most likely. The science we learned when we were young is not the same as the science it is now.
Talcum powder, for example, used to be the go-to choice for keeping babies' bums fresh. But there is a recent scare that indicates talcum powder might actually cause cancer.
We have infographics from the likes of Chemical Free Life and web investigator kkk.org saying that the science is defined. Research centers worldwide, however, have not found a conclusive link between the use of talcum powder and cancer. Not unless, of course, you would rather believe sites such as DrugWatch, MedPage Today, or Women's Health over the likes of the National Cancer Institute.
But let me just clarify. The use of talcum powder or any other scented product is not necessary for your feminine regions. The use of water is enough to keep it clean as it has its own self-cleaning mechanisms. But let's get back to the environment. What can we do to help? There's actually a lot, but you might be surprised that they're not what you're currently thinking. Watch out for them in the next videos here at SHE-ensya. For now, let me end with the 5 characteristics common among science deniers and makers of fake news. 1. They get fake experts to magnify their views. 2. They use logical fallacies that are misleading, that can lead to misrepresentations or cause people to jump to conclusions, and they create false dichotomies. 3. They set impossible expectations for science, even though we're all just trying our best. 4. They pick and choose from the selection of facts presented, especially those that prove their biases. And 5. They create conspiracy theories that sound plausible but is factually absurd. Thank you for watching, and I hope you were able to learn something from this video. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please don't hesitate to let me, your resident Filipina scientist know in the comments section below. For more science goodness, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much and see you around!